2. I always consider the first movie as the Moulin Rouge of animated films, not just because of the random use of pop songs, but also with its weird and confusing story with plenty of plot holes. On the other hand, the animation of the movie is just jaw-dropping. From the numerous dance numbers to the awesome sliding scenes, it makes up for the story problems and gives us something that we can enjoy no matter how many times we watch it. Heck, if it weren't for the story, it would have been better than any Pixar film. But now that they gave us a sequel to it, will the penguins show us that they still got the moves, or did they suddenly have 2 left feet? Let's find out. The story. I was hoping that they can improve on the story by having less plot holes than the last one. Well, there are less plot holes, but the story ends up being much worse than before. The main plot is that there's a bunch of giant icebergs that traps the penguins, and now Mumble and 3 kids have to find a way to get them out of there or else they'll die. Is it just me, or did they took the exact same plot of Ice Age 2, but make it even less interesting? But that's not all. There's also a subplot with the 2 krill, where one wants to see the world outside of the krill swarm. Again, wasn't that plot used in another movie like, oh, I don't know, The First Happy Feet? And what's worse, that subplot has very little to no connection to the main story. So, pretty much, that was just useless filler. But wait! There's more! There are plenty of other useless cliched subplots that they would often forget and sometimes would let it go unfinished. Like I said before, there are less plot holes, but now they just replaced it with useless stupid filler and stories from other films. The animation. Although the story ends up being even worse than the first, at least the animation still looks as grand as before. The character design and character animation still looks really realistic, and each penguin seems a little different than the other, instead of obviously copy-pasting the extras. I love that little detail. Not to mention that there are tons of them at once. This entire thing is also the case of the elephant seals, the seagulls, maybe the krill, and more. But possibly the best part of the animation is with the 2 krill. As useless as they are, they always end up flying and flipping everywhere, like from a penguin, a seal, even inside some machinery like chainsaws. Keep in mind that a krill is very small, so those things are ginormous from their perspective. Not only it makes the animation look great, but it also helps the background animation seem amazingly huge and naturally beautiful. However, with all those good things said, there is one thing that really bothers me about the animation. The dance numbers. There are little to none of them in here. They do sing some random pop songs, but they don't dance. Seriously, that's what makes the first film for me. It's like the one special talent that other animated films don't have. I find it really disappointing that they don't have much of those moments. But even with a lack of dance, the animation is still a sight to see. The characters. Want to see some characters that we know and love from the first one turn into something that's bland and generic? Well, this is the movie for you. For example, Mumble is now the worrying father like Marlin from Finding Nemo or Simba from The Lion King 2. Gloria doesn't really have that much screen time, so she's just the generic loving mother. And then there's Ramon. In the first film, he and his gang were my favorite characters, period. Every time they were on, they made me go hysterical because they were so funny. In the sequel though, Ramon is still the funniest character here, but he only makes me chuckle a few times. Not only that, but now he's turned into a Pepe Le Pew character, and, of course, it has no point to the plot. Also, I feel like I see a little less Ramon and a little more Robin Williams being Robin Williams. Same goes to Lovelace, by the way. Now on to the new characters, who are definitely not better than the original ones. There's Mumble's son, Eric, and his two friends, who I feel like are just there to be cute. Brian, the elephant seal, is just a member of the filler club. And here are the presidents of that club, Bill and Will the Krill, whose purpose is not only to waste our time, but to also say every dumb Krill joke that comes out of their heads. And then there's Sven, who I swear to God is the missing member of the Enchanted Tiki Room. He's the generic hero, but in reality he's a coward character who everyone believes he's a flying penguin. But, spoiler alert for those who don't know their birds, he's actually a puffin. Like the story, the characters can either be bland and generic, or a part of the useless filler club. There was a time when I had high hopes for Happy Feet 2 when I thought it could be an improved version of the original. But what I got was a huge disappointment with beautiful animation with no dancing scenes, a plot that they took from other animated films and covered it with pointless filler, and surrounded by generic and bland characters old and new. By the way, if you guys are wondering why I didn't talk about the songs, well, it's mainly because 1. The songs here are not original, and 2. They don't stop to sing and dance as much to consider it a musical. But if you're curious about what songs did they use, or most of the time, referenced, I must warn you though that these are the randomest choices I've ever heard for a movie. Some of them are We Are the Champions, Never Gonna Give You Up, Rawhide, Aria from Tosca, Under Pressure, and the weirdest of them all, Yep, what's even weirder is that they even danced like him.